In the Disney Plus show The Mandalorian, it is set 5 years after the fall of the Galactic Empire, and we are first introduced to the Mandalorian when he walks into a cantina on a very cold, desolate planet. And when he first walks in, he sees a bunch of guys roughing up and bullying some guy. And as soon as he enters the place, they turn their attention to him. He takes care of them pretty quickly and walks over to the guy that was being bullied. And he offers him money to buy himself a drink, but he puts down a bounty puck, and it's got the guy's face on it. He quickly tries to bargain with the Mandalorian, but the Mandalorian says, look, I can either take you in cold or warm. And he chooses warmth. The Mandalorian calls for a speeder to get back to his ship, and the last thing the captain of the speeder says is, watch out for the ice, and he should have heeded his own advice, because this huge beast bursts out of the ice and kills him. And then the beast turns his attention to the Mandalorian ship. The Mandalorian narrowly escapes after he zaps it, and he heads off to turn in his bounties. Now this guy that he just picked up will not shut up, and eventually he just asks to go to the bathroom, which the Mandalorian lets him do. But he starts snooping around, pretending he's going to the bathroom, and he's seeing all of the previous bounties frozen in the cryogenic chambers. And he gets a little freaked out, but when the Mandalorian catches him snooping around, he throws him in one of those cryogenic chambers and freezes him. He hands in all of his bounties to a guy named Grief Karga, and after he's done haggling with all the prices, he asks him, alright, what do you have? But everything that he has isn't really worth the time or the effort. The Mandalorian wants all of them, but he says, nah, I can't do that. I have other people I need to think about here. And the Mandalorian asks, why is it so slow? But he says, it's not slow, people just don't want to play guild rates. There is one job, however, that's going to pay pretty well, but it's under the table. And the Mandalorian says, great, where's the puck? But he says, there's no puck. You have to meet face to face with the guy. So the Mandalorian heads over to meet with this mystery man, and when he enters, there's the client protected by a bunch of stormtroopers. And to his left is a guy named Dr. Pershing. The client explains to the Mandalorian that he needs the asset alive, but if things go south, he is willing to take him dead. It's just going to be at a much lower fee. And Dr. Pershing jumps in and says, that's not what we agreed upon. Dr. Pershing wants this asset alive. And the client says, look, I'm just trying to be problematic about this. Unfortunately for the Mandalorian, he doesn't have much to go on though, because there is no bounty puck, and the only thing he knows about him is that he's 50 years old and then there's a tracking beacon. But the client says for a Mandalorian, this really shouldn't be a problem. And to motivate him, he gives him a down payment of a bar of Beskar steel and lets him know that there's more where that came from once the job is done. And Beskar steel is synonymous with the Mandalorian, although it's pretty hard to come by nowadays. So immediately when he gets this, he takes it to a Mandalorian blacksmith who right away knows that it was taken in the Great Purge. The blacksmith melts it down and gives him a piece of armor which he can add to his suit. But as she was melting it down, he was getting flashbacks of his childhood, having to run away as him and his family were attacked. Once he gets the armor though, those nasty thoughts go out of his head and he heads off to try to find this bounty. Once he arrives on the planet where the bounty is located though, he's immediately attacked by a herd of blurg. He's saved by a local farmer who asks if he's a bounty hunter, and the Mandalorian says yes, and he agrees to help him out. He tells him how he's helped other bounty hunters in the past out, but they've all died, and the Mandalorian says, well then why should I listen to your help? And he says, because you need it. I can lead you to their encampment. So the Mandalorian asks, alright, well then what's your cut? And the farmer says half. Initially the Mandalorian thinks that he means half the bounty, which is very steep, but he says, no, I mean half the blurg. We're gonna need one to ride there because I don't have a speeder, and I want the other one. And that's fine for the Mandalorian, but he doesn't really know how to ride blurg. And it takes him a little bit to learn how to ride the blurg, but he finally gets it down. When they arrive at the encampment, he tries to pay the farmer, but the farmer won't take it. He explains to the Mandalorian that this was a peaceful planet and those people have disrupted the peace. So at this point, he just wants whatever everybody's looking for off the planet so everybody can go back to their peaceful way of living. And because he's never met a Mandalorian, he felt inclined to help him because those are the best bounty hunters. So the Mandalorian thanks him and starts scoping out the turf and seeing how many people are there, but then he notices there's a bounty droid. And that's not the best thing to see at the moment, because the bounty droid is also looking for the same bounty that the Mandalorian's after. And after the bounty droid announces his arrival and takes some people out, the Mandalorian pops up and the bounty droid shoots at him until the Mandalorian shouts that he's in the guild as well, and they come to an understanding to actually work together and split this bounty. They're surrounded pretty quickly and are being attacked, but they've at least located the building which the bounty is in. The problem is there are a lot of people that are protecting the bounty, and they've just brought out a Gatling gun to take out the Mandalorian and the bounty droid. So the Mandalorian uses the bounty droid as a distraction and is able to get a hold of the Gatling gun and takes everybody out. Now, when they get inside, initially they can't find this bounty until they find a pod and open it up, and there is a baby Yoda. If there's a technical term for him, I apologize, but that's what everybody else is calling him, so you're gonna have to bear with me on that one. And initially, the Mandalorian can't figure out the big deal, but also doesn't think he has the right bounty because they said this thing was 50 years old. And the bounty droid reminds him that different species age at a different rate. Now, the bounty droid's orders were to kill on sight, whereas the Mandalorian's orders were to bring in Baby Yoda alive. And when the bounty droid is insisting on killing him, the Mandalorian takes him out, and now he has Baby Yoda all to himself. Thank you for watching this recap. If you do not see the next one up in the corner right there on the end screen, don't worry, it'll be up shortly. Please consider following the channel. That'd be cool. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you don't, there's a thumbs down button for a reason.